Ricegum was once one of the most successful creators on YouTube. However, after years of flexing his wealth and seemingly scamming his fans on numerous occasions, it appears Ricegum has taken a step back from the spotlight, and his once successful career is now on the decline. What exactly happened to Ricegum, and is this the end of YouTube's biggest flexer? Hey you, yes you, do you want to become an epic gamer? Well, now you can by giving me your money. I'm not Ricegum, alright? I don't make millions of dollars, unfortunately. So in order to keep making these videos that take lots of time and effort to create, I would appreciate your support. Become a member today for $5. $5 a month. Now, at the age of 15, Brian Lee would start out like many other YouTubers by uploading Call of Duty gameplay videos. And he started out as a humble kid who just liked playing video games. And he'd slowly start to gain a name for himself with these videos and his live streams on Twitch. And while moderatively successful, this was a far cry from his later success. Now, he'd get into a bit of controversy with these live streams as he'd invite a girl onto his stream who told him about a time where she had been SA'd. Now, Ricegum's response to this was to laugh it off and ask her if it felt good.
What the No, but did it feel good though?
No, I didn't.
Many people would overlook this incident, however, it would be brought up several times in the following years. Now, it was at this time that Ricegum would decide to pivot his content, and surprisingly, almost instantly, this pivot would completely change the course of his channel and his career. You see, at the time, the commentary genre was on the rise, with creators such as H3H3, Pyrocynical, and Keemstar making these videos criticizing and even roasting people. And so Ricegum would begin uploading these videos on fake kissing pranks. And that's when he'd start his most infamous series, These Kids Must Be Stopped, where he'd roast and criticize Musical.ly kids, with the most popular of these being Jacob Sartorius. And at the time, many people considered these roast videos to be hilarious and unique. However, looking back, these videos honestly weren't anything too special, and it probably wasn't the best thing that grown adults were roasting kids on the internet, but Ricegum's career would only continue to go up from here, and eventually people would begin responding to the videos that he'd made on them. And this is where Ricegum began to realize that he could start capitalizing on this sort of back and forth. And so this is where he'd make his first diss track on Jacob Sartorius. Now, despite the quality on this diss track being absolutely horrendous, at the time it was considered new and unique, and people really enjoyed this approach to drama. And as time went on, Ricegum would only get better at making these diss tracks. Now, as Ricegum's channel continued to blow up, something in him began to change, and he was no longer that humble kid who slept on the floor and made Call of Duty videos. And the clout and the money would start to go to his head, and he began purchasing expensive luxury clothing items and flexing his YouTube clout. Now, to be honest, as cringe as it is to flex your newfound wealth, this really wasn't too concerning at first, as many other people fall into this pattern when they first fall into wealth such as this. However, it was pretty clear as time went on that the clout and money would only go to his head even more, and it seems like he never outgrew this behavior, and it became a staple of the Ricegum channel for him to flex his wealth and his luxury items, and he'd even begin dissing people for being quote-unquote irrelevant. And so it was at this time that many people grew to dislike Ricegum. You know, when he first started taking off, he was kind of relatable. He was like a normal kid. However, the money and the fame obviously changed him. Despite many people disliking this behavior, his career would only skyrocket from here, and he'd begin to release more diss tracks on people, with one of the people he made a diss track on, Gabby Hanna, confronting him at a party. And this would begin Ricegum's first major controversy, as instead of just taking it with stride, Ricegum would decide to smash Gabby's phone, and Gabby would go on to post on her social media that Ricegum had actually assaulted her. Now, Ricegum would dismiss these claims and drop yet another diss track on Gabby Hanna. Now, to be fair to Ricegum, after he slapped and broke a woman's phone and made several diss tracks on her, he replaced her phone, which is like the bare minimum he could have done in a situation like that, but he did replace her phone, at the very least. And despite a lot of people calling Ricegum's actions childish, this incident would actually fuel Ricegum's rise and would only submit his reputation as the YouTube diss tracker. And it was at this time that fellow content creator and founder of FaZe Clan, FaZe Banks, would take a liking to Ricegum as he saw something special in him. And together, Ricegum, FaZe Banks, and Jake Paul's ex-girlfriend Alyssa Violet would go on to create one of the most infamous YouTube groups of all time, Clout Gang. And the three of them, along with a few other FaZe members, would move into a $10 million home. And it was while at this home that Ricegum would release his most popular diss track yet. You see, at the time, Jake Paul had released his song, Everyday Bro, and in this song, he seems to diss his ex-girlfriend, Alyssa Violet. Now, a lot of people don't give Alyssa the credit she deserves here, but she is the one who came up with the idea to make a diss track with Ricegum. And let's just say that that would prove beneficial to both parties, as their diss track, Every Night Sis, would go on to hit 100 million views and be certified platinum. And it was because of Ricegum that a whole new wave would begin on YouTube, with people releasing diss tracks on each other. A lot of people like to say the whole like flexing his wealth stuff is kind of what killed Ricegum's career, but to be honest, for a while there, it's actually what fueled his rise. And it seemed at the time that Ricegum had nowhere to go but up from here. However, the once YouTube bully would become the bullied himself, as Idubbbz would release a content cop on Ricegum, and he'd nickname Ricegum the Asian Jake Paul. And in this video, he'd bring up many of the complaints that people had against Ricegum, like his constant flexing and selfish behavior, and would even bring up past actions that had previously gone overlooked. Idubbbz would then take a page out of Ricegum's playbook and release a diss track on Ricegum featuring many other large creators. This was one of the first times in Ricegum's career that he would take a major hit to his reputation. And Ricegum, like many others who'd gotten content copped, would fall into Idubbbz's trap and prove him right about his behavior. You see, it was clear by Ricegum's response that he hadn't learned from his past actions and his behavior whatsoever, and would prove Idubbbz's point even more by releasing a diss track on Idubbbz, where he flexes his wealth at Idubbbz. Like, if you want a perfect example of completely missing the point, I think Ricegum's Frick the Police diss track does that pretty clearly. Now, despite Content Cop having this reputation of ending careers, honestly, this didn't end Rice's career. In fact, I'd say that Ricegum kind of ruined it himself. Clout Gang would pretty much fall apart. Ricegum would then upload a vlog in Hong Kong where he was just completely disrespectful to everyone he came across, and he'd face a lot of backlash and later end up deleting this vlog. And he'd upload a response to the controversy, once again not taking accountability for his actions and seemed to just brush it all off as a joke. At this time, it became increasingly clear that Ricegum had just kind of fallen out of love for making content, and it was a common joke within the comments that Ricegum was merely uploading to make rent money, and he began to realize that it was more profitable to promote a product rather than making actual content. And that's when Ricegum began promoting shady products like mystery boxes, claiming that you could win luxury items from these mystery boxes. And many people would actually call Ricegum out for promoting these. And once again, instead of taking accountability for his actions, he would blame everyone else and would even attempt to bribe his audience with gift card codes. By the way, I'm pretty sure those gift card codes were actually fake, and anyway, trying to bribe your audience after you just scammed them is obviously not the best move, and people flamed him for it. No one took this response very well. He'd later start up a family vlogging channel with his then girlfriend at the time. They would then break up, and Ricegum would make several videos attacking her. KSI and Ricegum would then have a falling out. Now, I should mention that both of these dramas were extremely petty, and I'm pretty sure the thing with KSI started because, like, KSI said Ricegum's music sucks, or vice versa. Really petty stuff. And since then, it has been 2 years since Ricegum's last upload on YouTube. Now, despite seemingly quitting YouTube and going inactive on all his social medias, this actually wasn't the end of Ricegum, as he'd go back to his roots and start streaming on Twitch again. And despite his many controversies, he actually started to build up a loyal fan base over on Twitch, with many people enjoying his laid back and chill streams. However, Ricegum would soon get into more controversy. And no, I'm not talking about his obviously fake beef with Aiden Ross. No, he'd once again be called out for promoting scams. And he'd be involved with one of the most infamous YouTube crypto scams of all time, Save the Kids. Now, while most everyone involved seemed to take the blunt of the backlash, Ricegum didn't really take much heat for this, and he would go on stream to attempt to defend his actions because, of course, Ricegum can never take accountability for his actions. Now, FaZe Banks will tell you that behind the scenes, Ricegum is a completely different person and that he's some sort of content genius. So either he's a genius who willingly scammed his fans multiple times, or he's an idiot who just took whatever brand deal he could get his hands on and ended up screwing over his fans by being an idiot. Since this incident, it appears that Ricegum has taken a step back from streaming, and he's pretty much faded into irrelevancy. Now, do I think that this is the last that we'll see or hear of Ricegum? Probably not. If there's one thing that's true about Ricegum, it's that he can't stay out of the spotlight for long, and eventually his YouTube fortune will completely dry out, and he'll have no other choice but to come crawling back to his audience. I just gotta say it, for old time's sakes, Ricegum, you are irrelevant. Anyway, this is what happened to Ricegum. If you guys have enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe to the channel.
Hey, you, the one watching this right now. Click this video, I promise, it's amazing.